This is part 2 of the Power of Now series. If you want a broad overview of this course and of this book, then I would encourage you to check out part 1 here. Otherwise, stay tuned. Okay, so what is the ego? Basically, the ego is your sense of self, the person living in your body, thinking your thoughts that lives in your head or behind the eyes somewhere. It's created by believing that we are our thoughts, that we are what we experience. And how does enlightenment have anything to do with the ego? Bottom line, enlightenment is realizing directly in our experience that the ego doesn't exist. Realizing that the ego is derived from the activity of our mind and can only be upheld through constant thinking. That living completely and utterly in the present moment is the key to liberation. Well, why is the ego the key to liberation, you asked? The ego is the key to liberation because the ego causes just about all of the suffering in our lives and brings nothing but pain. This is why monks in the East spend their entire lives meditating, working towards bringing their attention completely to the present moment, and therefore finding satisfaction in the now, free from the ego. So the ego thrives on our inability to live in the present moment. It's no coincidence that you have such a hard time meditating and living in the present moment. It's mostly because the ego doesn't like to be silenced. And the ego is only upheld through constant thought. We become lost in thought 99% of the time in our lives. And bottom line, this much thinking is a bad thing. We think about what we should have said in a conversation. We worry about events that are probably never going to happen in the future. All for what? All to avoid living in the present moment. Because the present moment means death to our ego. It means that the ego is no longer being strengthened. Rather, it's being weakened. It's a threat to our survival, not physically, but a threat to who we think we are, to our sense of self. Thinking has become a disease. Don't get me wrong, thinking is an amazing tool. It's what separates us from all other species. However, it's only great when used rightly. As Eckhart Tolle said in his book, 80 to 90% of our thinking is repetitive, useless, and harmful. For example, thinking when there's no need to be thinking about the past or the future when there's no value whatsoever in doing so. Have you found the off button to your mind? Do you even know there was an off button? You know that voice in your head that controls almost every aspect of your life? If I told you that it's possible to be free from this inner dialogue, this inner voice, would you believe me? Well, that's what it means to become enlightened or to become conscious. The beginning of becoming conscious is being able to listen to your voice in your head, to watch the thinker, as Eckhart Tolle puts it. Don't judge or condemn what the voice is saying, just listen to it without reacting and letting the dialogue control your entire life. As you're watching the thinker, a thought may subside, and before the next one arises, you experience a discontinuity in the mind, a sort of no mind feeling, like there's no sense of self to uphold. When these gaps occur, you'll feel this stillness and peace inside you. This experience is essentially who you are, your true nature. Learning to disidentify from the mind like this is the most vital step on your journey to enlightenment. Every time you create a gap in your stream of thinking, in your stream of consciousness, fulfillment in the present will grow stronger. Another advantage of reaching this gap in the stream of thinking more often is that you'll have a greater ability to control your emotions. Becoming aware of our emotions is often as important as becoming aware of our thoughts. But it's much easier because emotions have a strong physical sense to them, whereas thoughts are just in our mind and sometimes they're hard to realize when we're lost in thought. So by becoming aware of our emotions as they arise in the present moment, we are at the same time not allowing our emotions to overtake us, to not let our emotions control our actions. Therefore, by observing our emotions without reacting to them, the emotion soon passes away and we're on to life as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching. This topic of emotional pain that I just started to dive into at the end of this video will be covered in depth in the next video, all about how the mind creates the pain in our body and to how to prevent this pain that the mind puts on us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Future videos in the series will be released on the YouTube channel in the next couple of weeks. Please subscribe if you want to get notified of these new videos that I release, as well as on other topics. I will be collaborating with a bunch of other YouTubers in the next month or so. So stay tuned to get a slightly different perspective, and have a great day.